What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully everyone's doing well out there. We're talking about some Week 3 trade targets here today. Maybe some players you should be trading for or away. You got to remember, one of the most important things to do in fantasy football is being proactive, seeing the future, trying to find ways to make your team overall better throughout the year, and then by the time you hit the end of the season, you are lined up for a stretch run to walk away with championships. Now, obviously, there's a lot of big name guys out there that, sure, you want on your team, but we're trying to keep this realistic. Some guys that maybe you can add into some trades, a few bigger name guys, but for the most part, we're trying to keep this as guys that are very available, I guess you could say, right now, based off of what we're seeing, not only in the industry, but down in the comment section, on Discord, Twitter, social media, all over the place. Players that people are actually talking about right now. So we're not going to waste a whole lot of time. We're diving right in to the Fantrax trade targets of the week here for Week 3, and we'll kick it off once again with the Arizona Cardinals. I included DeAndre Hopkins in last week's show as well. He's just one of those guys that as the weeks go by, it's less and less time that you have to have tied up on a bench spot for a guy that's not playing. Whoever owns DeAndre Hopkins in your league, if they are struggling with anything right now, more than likely you can go after DeAndre Hopkins, give up very, very little. Yeah, sure, you still have to wait a few weeks to use him, but you could have yourself a low-end wide receiver 1, a high-end wide receiver 2 in just a few weeks. You gave up nothing pretty much on your bench to get if the owner is in panic mode. Atlanta, not a whole lot to go after. I wanted to mention Kyle Pitts. A lot of people are just off the Kyle Pitts bandwagon. A little bit too early just to be off it completely, but I don't know if that's a player that I really want to tell people just to go after just yet. We may want to wait another week or so, kind of see what happens with Kyle Pitts before we make any, crazy decisions here for Baltimore. We got J.K. Dobbins. He's starting to get healthier. Now, he is not ready to go just yet, but kind of a similar situation to DeAndre Hopkins. If the owner of J.K. Dobbins right now is in panic mode, more than likely you can go in and get J.K. Dobbins for a lot cheaper than what you had to get him on draft day, and you didn't have to deal with not having him for the first 2 weeks. Owners are getting impatient. I've done this game for almost 22 years, and this may be the most freak out that I have ever seen in fantasy football, and people are just giving up on guys left and right. Grabbing J.K. Dobbins now could give yourself a great option second half of the year and really help give you that added push. For Buffalo, not a whole lot. A lot of people really aren't giving up the pieces of the Buffalo Bills. Carolina, not really at this time. Chicago, what, you want David Montgomery? Well, he's the only guy producing, and he's coming off a huge week, so more than likely the owners aren't going to part ways with him. Cincinnati, sorry, but you're not going to go out there and get, Joe Burrow yet, or Jamar Chase, or Joe Mixon. Those guys aren't going to be available. Cleveland, you really want just Hunt and Chubb. They're not on anybody's trading block right now. Dallas, even though Dallas won last week, and honestly, they didn't look half bad, this is not the time just yet. Maybe another week or so before we actually actively try to start going after some Dallas players, because we've shortened that window, shortened that time frame that will be without Dak Prescott and members of that offensive line. So not at this time. How about Denver? Jerry Jeudy's a name that I'm going after right now. He may not even play this week, but this offense is so much better with Jerry Jeudy in it. And I spent some time, I talked to the doc, and I said, hey, what do you think long-term, end of season, rest of season here for Jerry Jeudy? Is this something to be worried about? And he's not. He's more worried short-term right now. You may not have Jeudy for another week or two, and if he does play, he could be limited. So right now, a lot of people may be dropping their stock on Jerry Jeudy. That's good for you. You can swoop in, get him for a cheaper price, and when he bounces back and gets to full health, he's obviously, in my opinion, probably what really makes that offense work in Denver. They need Jerry Jeudy, which is crazy because there's so many other options, but with Nathaniel Hackett being totally lost, the one thing that really gives Russ and that offense the added boost seems to be Jerry Jeudy. Nothing really for the Detroit Lions. Obviously, you want DeAndre Swift, but more than likely, they're not going to part ways with him. Amon-Ra, he's too on fire, and nobody wants to part ways with Amon-Ra. If they do, they're really not paying attention. He's definitely a guy that I would want on my team if you could possibly get him, but I can't see people being that dumb too often. Anyway, how about Christian Watson for the Green Bay Packers? Now, he hasn't done much of anything yet. He had a huge drop that would have been a huge touchdown play in week 1 that would have really boosted his overall hype and really had people give them a reason to hang on to him. This is a guy that may be on your waiver wire, and if he is, go snatch him, because in the coming weeks, he could definitely develop a role in this offense and get more chances. He is a big-time playmaker. All he needs is constant volume. And we know with the Green Bay wide receiver group, they're going to be looking for options all year long. Christian Watson is a name that I'll have thrown into some trades if I can get him. Houston, Indianapolis, nothing really at this time for Jacksonville. Christian Kirk may be time to sell high. And that may sound super crazy to a lot of people out there, but he's got back-to-back big games. He's never played in a full season. He's one of these guys that tends to get banged up. He's coming up into some tough matchups here pretty soon too, with against the Chargers, the Eagles, even the Houston secondary. That matchup could be tougher than a lot of people think. The Houston secondary, their pass defense isn't all that bad. Now, more than likely, when you drafted Christian Kirk, you weren't overly reliant on him. So he's somebody that you're probably not really having to start every week. Capitalize on that huge growth in value and see what you can get out of it for Kansas City. I'm still buying Juju. Now, obviously, a lot of people hate Juju. A lot of people have already given up on him. But the dude right now is practically free in trades. Nobody wants him. So if you could just get him thrown into a trade, it's not a bad idea. Why not take a stab long-term the rest of the season on Juju, a guy that's playing with Patrick Mahomes in an offense that has already had some wide receivers banged up. Mecole Hardman banged up. Justin Watson, he's coming off of a chest injury. I'm not giving up on Juju just yet. Is he a locked-in-stone weekly starter? No, but if you can get him for super cheap in a trade throw-in, I would absolutely do that still. Las Vegas, nothing really at this time. The Rams, I'm shopping Darrell Henderson. I expect Cam Akers to start to take more and more volume. There's still going to be a split, but Darrell Henderson himself, not the model of health. He doesn't play full seasons hardly ever, but this window is closing super quickly. He kind of kept it open last week by scoring a touchdown, but Cam Akers had all those touches. Tough upcoming schedule as well here for the Rams. So Darrell Henderson, a guy that I'm looking to try to ship out if possible. Nobody really for the Chargers or the Dolphins as of right yet. For the Minnesota Vikings, I'm still looking at Adam Thielen. A lot of people have already given up on Adam Thielen. Production has just been too low, and it hasn't been great. I will give you that. But do you realize that he still had more receiving yards in week 2 than Justin Jefferson? He's still getting red zone looks. He's had 3 of them in the first 2 weeks of the season. He is cheap and could be potential second half production that could really give your team added depth, and you're not having to pay too much for it. New England, New Orleans, and the Giants, not a whole lot that I'm really going after right this second that would be available. The Jets, I'm going after Elijah Moore still. There's word coming out that we could see Zach Wilson return next week, and if that's the case, everything that we've learned about Joe Flacco over the last 2 to 3 weeks at that time could go totally out the window, and all of a sudden, maybe all those targets going the way of Corey Davis or Tyler Conklin start migrating back the way of Elijah Moore. He's also a guy, hasn't done a whole lot as of yet, so you can get him super cheap. For Philadelphia, I'm actually maybe trying to shop Miles Sanders a little bit, and I can hear you out there. This is what you're thinking. We finally get Miles Sanders as a thing in Philadelphia, Jake, and you want to trade him away? Kind of. I mean, he's still one of these guys that has missed 9 games over the last 2 years. He's averaging a career high in touches. They're still utilizing other backs in this backfield. Jalen Hurts is still taking away a lot of the touchdowns. His value is super high because he's had 2 back-to-back weeks. If you're looking for something on your team, Miles Sanders has some value right now, but he could come crashing down. For San Francisco, I'm shopping Jeff Wilson Jr. Now, if a team is out there acquiring Marlon Mack and Tevin Coleman, that tells me that they don't have a whole lot of faith long-term in Jeff Wilson Jr. Plus, we're still a few weeks away from maybe even Elijah Mitchell returning end of season. Then this backfield's going to turn into a split mess. TD Price will be back in 4 weeks or so. This is going to be a total cluster of a backfield. Right now, Jeff Wilson Jr. coming off a game in which he saw so many touches. Maybe you can try to flip him and sell him to somebody who doesn't know that all these guys are coming at some point, even if they take 2 or 3 touches a game. That's 2 or 3 touches a game each that are not going the way of Jeff Wilson that could bring down that ceiling. For Seattle, I'm going after Kenneth Walker. Rashad Penny has done nothing to really extend his job here. He's not going out there and overly producing and really forcing the coach's hand to keep giving him the ball now that Kenneth Walker is coming back. Going to take him a few weeks to get back into game speed, but he's definitely somebody who down the stretch could have a very good role in a run-heavy team. Nothing right now for Tampa Bay because they all hurt everybody. Tennessee, I put Derrick Henry here, the biggest name on this list, and I'll tell you why. We have had so many comments asking, hey, would you take this for Derrick Henry? What should I do with Derrick Henry? Who should I trade Derrick Henry for? Everybody out there is giving up on Derrick Henry, and I really don't understand why, because a difficult matchup against the Buffalo defense, which is elite, and he still scored a touchdown for you. I'm not giving up on Derrick Henry whatsoever. I'm not flipping out over the week 2 performance, despite what he did against Buffalo in the past. This is a different Buffalo team. Don't make the mistake. But if somebody is in your league and they want to part ways with Derrick Henry, I will gladly take him off their hands if they so choose. And then lastly, the Washington Commandos. Once again, I'm listing Terry McLaurin. Had him on here last week as well. Dotson, Samuel, and now a healthy Logan Thomas. They're taking away high-quality targets from McLaurin. Now, he's still going to get looks, but a lot of those looks that are touchdown-type looks, it's just going to be too spread out. The Washington offense is going to score points, but with other playmakers that are healthy in this offense, it's not all going to Terry McLaurin like it has been in the past. I'm trading him while I still can. He's had some big plays early on this year, still has some name recognition, some name value. If you can get something good for Terry McLaurin, I'm definitely thinking about it. But that's going to do it for my week 3 trade targets. As I said, this list is going to evolve over the season. It's not going to be the same list each and every week. There may be some names here or there, but we're going to try to make sure that we stay on top of the schedule, injuries, and everything else to give you an opportunity to find some players that maybe you can go after realistically in trades to make your team better second half of the year so we can all walk away with more trophies. So hopefully you enjoy this type of content. If you do me a favor, hit that like button down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and I look forward to talking to you as much as I can down below in the comment section. But for now, hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day, a great week, and we'll talk to you later.